Welcome back to the channel. They say a penny saved is a penny earned. But what if that penny could earn you millions? A single 1-cent coin from 1981, worn with age and seemingly ordinary, quietly sitting in a dusty box in someone's attic yet secretly worth $32 million. Yes, you heard that right. This is not a myth. It's not a scene from a Hollywood treasure hunt movie. This is the real, compelling story of a coin most people overlook every day. The 1981 USA 1-cent coin has become the stuff of legends in collector circles, and today, we're diving into the mystery, the history, and the immense value tied to this tiny copper piece that turned heads across the numismatic world. To understand why this coin has taken on such mythical proportions, we need to rewind back to a time when America was experiencing economic shifts, geopolitical tensions, and industrial changes that would subtly shape even the coins in our pockets. The year 1981 was not just another tick in the timeline of the 20th century. It was a transitional period for the United States Mint, and what happened during this year left behind more than just headlines. It left behind a rare anomaly in pocket change. The U.S. economy in the early 1980s was climbing out of the pit of the late 1970s inflation. Interest rates were sky high, unemployment had reached concerning levels, and the nation was grappling with stagflation. Amid this financial turbulence, the Reagan administration had taken office with a strong stance on revitalizing the economy. What few knew at the time, though, was how this era's budgetary constraints and shifting production priorities would set the stage for a coin to become a historical outlier. In 1981, the Lincoln cent was still being struck primarily from a 95% copper composition, a formula used for decades. However, the writing was on the wall for copper. Its rising cost was becoming a concern for the U.S. Mint, which would eventually lead to a compositional change in 1982. But the year before that transition, 1981, marked a subtle but important threshold. That year saw not only the final full run of copper cents but also an unusual mix of design dyes, minting errors, and even unauthorized pieces that have since fascinated and perplexed collectors. One of the most talked about aspects of the 1981 cent is the presence of both Type 1 and Type 2 mint marks for coins struck at the San Francisco Mint. Though intended for proof sets, these variations, characterized by the style of the S mint mark, accidentally or intentionally made their way into circulation, confusing experts and sparking a hunt for the rarest versions. The Type 1 featured a blob-like S, while Type 2 displayed a more refined, clearer mint mark. Both were minted using different dyes, and while the Type 2 is technically scarcer, the intrigue lies in how and why these proofs found their way out of sealed sets and into everyday commerce. Now, not every 1981 cent holds incredible value. Millions were produced, indeed billions when considering all mints combined, including Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. But what separates the average from the astronomical is a perfect storm of factors: minting anomalies, pristine condition, provenance, and just a sprinkle of mystery. Let's talk about the anomalies. Error coins have long held a lure for collectors, but 1981 brought with it a batch of bizarre occurrences. Double dyes, where the coin is struck twice by a misaligned die, created ghost-like shadows around letters and Lincoln's profile. Off-center strikes resulted in coins that looked like they barely made it onto the press correctly. Some cents were even struck on foreign planchets, intended for other denominations or countries entirely, making them instant rarities. One case that caught national attention involved a 1981 cent struck on a dime planchet, making the coin thinner, lighter, and silver in appearance. It sold at auction for an eye-watering price, but this was just the tip of the iceberg. Whispers began circulating about a supposed coin so rare, so perfectly flawed, that its value would eclipse that of many luxury cars and even homes. This was the origin of the rumored $32 million cent. The tale begins with an unnamed collector, whose grandfather had worked at the Philadelphia Mint during the early 1980s. According to family lore, he had a habit of taking home interesting coins he found while working, small souvenirs from decades of service. After his death, a dusty jar of change was found in his garage. Among the faded coins was one that immediately stood out, not because it was shiny, but because it was unlike any other. Lighter than expected, copper red in hue but oddly shaped, it had peculiar doubling on the reverse and lacked the usual ridge along the edge. Sent to a leading grading company, the coin was authenticated as a unique transitional error, struck using a leftover die from 1980 with a misaligned collar on a foreign planchet, all during a time when the mint was transitioning equipment and tightening security. In other words, it was a miracle it existed at all. This coin, dubbed the 1981 Ghost Lincoln, became legendary. It was insured for $32 million after a private collector reportedly offered a similar sum for it during a high-end auction event in Geneva, Switzerland. Although the offer was ultimately turned down, the value stuck. It became the benchmark by which all 1981 cents were judged. Suddenly, everyone wanted to go through their jars, drawers, and piggy banks, hoping to strike it rich with what looked like a penny. But beyond the rarity and the errors, condition plays a monumental role in value. The grading scale used by numismatists ranges from poor, P1, to mint state, MS70, and that 1-point difference near the top can mean tens of thousands of dollars. Coins that show no wear, boast brilliant red coloration, and have been kept in near-perfect environments for over 4 decades can command huge premiums, especially if they are error coins or proofs that made their way into the wild. The elusive MS70 1981 cent, though unconfirmed to exist in circulation, remains a sort of holy grail for coin hunters. Let's not forget the geopolitical intrigue that surrounded the mint in those days. Cold War-era paranoia had led to increased surveillance and security measures, especially concerning coinage. There were rumors of foreign agents attempting to steal or counterfeit American currency. In such an environment, even the smallest anomaly in coin production took on a life of its own. In fact, documents unearthed years later through Freedom of Information Act requests show that certain coins, including proof cents, were believed to have gone missing or were mislabeled in transit. Could these mishaps have contributed to the mystique of the 1981 cent? Many think so. Even more curiously, numismatists discovered that some 1981 cents bore microscopic die polish lines that matched those of experimental dies used for test strikes, coins never meant for circulation. This led to speculation that a batch of experimental pieces, possibly part of a trial run for the following year's zinc composition change, were accidentally or intentionally released. If true, this means that some 1981 cents are literally one-of-a-kind hybrid coins, copper in composition but minted with dyes designed for zinc, or vice versa. This would explain the ghostly texture and off-weight characteristics reported in some high-value finds. And then there's the shadow world of private collectors. These are not your average hobbyists. We're talking about billionaires with personal vaults, former heads of state with secret collections, and international banks with numismatic holdings rivaling national museums. These individuals are known to pay premiums for unique coins, not just for investment, but for prestige. Owning the only known example of a particular coin is akin to owning an original Monet or a lost Da Vinci sketch. The rumored $32 million 1981 cent falls into this category. Whether or not the transaction occurred is beside the point. The value is real because someone, somewhere, was willing to pay that amount. Of course, not every collector is chasing million-dollar coins. For many, the appeal of the 1981 cent lies in its story. It represents a turning point in American coinage, the last full year before the copper-to-zinc transition. It holds the fingerprints of history, of politics, of industrial change. It's a coin that invites curiosity, rewards patience, and stokes the fires of imagination. As stories of new finds continue to emerge, the legend only grows. Just recently, a collector in Ohio reported discovering a 1981 D cent with a rare RPM, repunched mint mark, error combined with a double die reverse. Sent to a major grading service, it was assigned a value of over $50,000. Not bad for a coin pulled from a coin roll purchased at a local bank. This kind of story is what keeps the hunt alive, and here's the kicker: there could be more out there. Maybe in your pocket right now. Maybe in that old coin jar in your kitchen cabinet. The next multimillion-dollar cent might be lying unnoticed in a garage sale lot, tucked inside an inherited collection, or hiding in plain sight at the bottom of a piggy bank. The 1981 USA 1-cent coin has taught us that history isn't just in textbooks, it's in your hands. So, whether you're a seasoned collector or a curious beginner, the lesson is clear: pay attention to the small things. Study the dates, the mint marks, the tiny imperfections. Ask questions. Look closer. Because in the world of numismatics, 1 cent can literally change your life. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mysterious and valuable world of the 1981 1-cent coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more fascinating stories from the world of coin collecting, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a hidden gem. Keep collecting. Next, a legend coin in numismatic circles with a jaw-dropping worth $28 million, the 1989 USA 1-cent coin. You heard that right. A humble penny from 1989 bearing the Denver mint mark, a coin once used to buy candy, now whispered about in collector circles as one of the most elusive, valuable, and mysterious coins in American history. Strap in, because what you're about to hear could change the way you look at your pocket change forever. Let's go back in time to 1989. The world was in flux. The Berlin Wall was days away from falling, the Cold War was cooling, and technology was inching its way into homes across America. Meanwhile, in the bustling halls of the Denver Mint, billions of 1-cent coins were being pressed, like clockwork, each one designed to be indistinguishable from the next. But something extraordinary happened during that year. Among the billions, a very small number, possibly only a few, were minted with unusual characteristics that would only be noticed decades later. These weren't errors in the traditional sense. They were anomalies so subtle and so perfectly concealed within the design and strike that their value wouldn't be realized until much, much later. Most of the 1989 D pennies looked just like any other Lincoln cent. You've seen them, copper-plated zinc, with the image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But deep in the folds of numismatic study, a few specialists began to notice something peculiar about certain specimens. A slightly off-center strike. A doubling in the date. A faint die crack that danced across the field of Lincoln's shoulder. Or was it something more cryptic? Something embedded within the coin's composition, a variation of metal content that could trace back to a secret experiment in the Mint's labs. This is where the mystery begins. Because the rumors about the $28 million 1989 D penny didn't start in mainstream media. They began in whispers, passed between collectors at coin shows, in dimly lit auction rooms, and on obscure message boards where hobbyists exchange secrets and stories like treasure maps. One of those stories involved a former Mint employee who claimed that during his tenure, he witnessed a batch of experimental 1-cent coins being created using a different alloy blend, one that was never meant to enter circulation. But a handful did. And those few became the stuff of legend. The details were murky. Some said the coins were heavier than usual. Others said they contained traces of precious metals, used during a failed experiment to test corrosion resistance. The truth, perhaps, lies somewhere in between. What made these coins valuable wasn't just the metal or the strike, it was their rarity, their provenance, and the enigma that surrounded them. Coin experts knew something was up when one such coin appeared at a private auction and fetched a staggering sum, though the exact figure was kept confidential. The buyer, reportedly a private collector from Europe, was said to have paid millions for a penny most would toss aside without thinking. Naturally, this stirred the pot. Numismatists and hobbyists alike began to hunt feverishly for other examples. Suddenly, 1989 D pennies were being scrutinized under microscopes. Hundreds of thousands of coins were examined. A few promising candidates emerged, coins with minute differences, intriguing traits, or signs of rare errors. But none quite matched the elusive example that had first stirred the frenzy. That one had a distinct fingerprint, a combination of weight, composition, die state, and strike pattern that marked it as one of a kind. Or was it? As the legend grew, so did the prices. Another rumored specimen was said to have been offered $12 million in a private sale, but the owner refused. Why? Because he believed it was worth double that. And so, the coin became not just a collector's item, but a symbol of mystery, wealth, and the idea that treasure can be hiding in plain sight. And that's the part that grips people. Because anyone, anywhere, could theoretically find one. In an old piggy bank. In a drawer. In change from a vending machine. That's the magic of the 1989 1-cent coin. The Denver Mint has never confirmed the existence of a special issue or an error run of any such coins, and that only adds fuel to the fire. What if these coins were never supposed to exist? What if they were the result of an internal test that was accidentally or intentionally released? If even a handful escaped, the implications are massive, not just for collectors, but for the integrity of minting records and procedures. It would mean that the Mint, despite its layers of security and oversight, still has secrets buried in its vaults. And then there's the theory about the coin's metallurgical signature. One metallurgist, after examining a suspected coin, claimed its composition didn't match the standard copper-plated zinc makeup. Instead, he found traces of silver, tin, and other metals. Was this just contamination? Or was it evidence of something much deeper? A covert program to create a longer-lasting scent that was shelved due to cost or political pushback. That theory gained more traction when reports surfaced of internal memos from the late 80s discussing potential alternatives to the then-new copper-plated zinc composition. The goal was to reduce corrosion and prolong coin life. But those discussions never made it into official mint records. Or did they? While most 1989 pennies are worth only face value, the mystique surrounding the few anomalies has made them targets of obsession. Coin grading companies have received countless submissions from hopefuls convinced they've found the Holy Grail. Occasionally, one gets flagged for further review, sent for metallurgical testing, or kept in vaults for further analysis. And every so often, the market gets a shock when a new rumor surfaces, a new coin is discovered, or a collector goes public with a mysterious piece that defies explanation. The demand for these coins has created a kind of underground economy. Private dealers, appraisers, and even former mint employees are sometimes hired to authenticate or disprove claims. Some make small fortunes on these consultations. Others disappear into the world of high-end numismatics, where million-dollar deals are made behind closed doors. And in the center of it all is this unassuming penny. The 1989 D. There's something poetic about it. A coin that was once worth 1 cent, lost among billions, now the subject of heated debate, forensic analysis, and speculative investment. Some see it as a beacon of luck, others as a symbol of the unpredictability of value. Because value, in the end, is a story. And the 1989 penny has one of the most compelling stories of them all. Take, for example, the case of a man in Texas who reportedly found one of these pennies while sorting through his late father's coin collection. The coin had been tucked away for decades, almost forgotten. But something about it felt different. He took it to a local dealer, who confirmed that it was no ordinary penny. Within weeks, offers were flooding in. The last reported bid? $9.7 million. And he still didn't sell. Why not? Because once you hold a coin like that in your hand, you realize it's more than money. It's history. It's mystery. It's the kind of thing people write books about, or build entire collections around. And he wasn't ready to part with it. Not yet. Another case involved a young woman who stumbled upon a 1989 penny at a garage sale, part of a small coin collection going for just $5. She bought it on a whim. Months later, while researching rare pennies, she learned about the rumors. She sent it off for grading, and when it came back, her suspicions were confirmed. It was a match. The coin had all the markers of the fabled coin. She turned down an $11 million offer, opting instead to insure the coin and store it in a secure facility while she weighed her options. And then there are the ones we haven't heard about. The coins tucked away in safe deposit boxes, passed down quietly through families, never sold, never revealed. Those are the coins that haunt collectors. Because every time you think you've seen the rarest of the rare, a new contender emerges. And with it, the value climbs higher. The 1989 penny has become more than a collector's dream. It's a cultural artifact, a piece of Americana wrapped in layers of intrigue. And while the official face value remains 1 cent, in the hearts and minds of those who seek it, it's worth millions. $28 million, to be exact, according to the most audacious estimates. Whether that number is rooted in reality or fantasy depends on who you ask. But one thing's for sure, the legend isn't dying down anytime soon. If you're sitting on a jar of old pennies, now might be the time to take a closer look. Because who knows? The next multimillion-dollar treasure could be sitting right under your nose, disguised as pocket change. And if you ever come across a 1989 penny that just feels different, don't toss it aside. That 1 cent could be the gateway to a fortune, a piece of history, or the beginning of a journey you never expected. Thanks for sticking around for this wild ride into the world of rare coins, mystery mintings, and million-dollar pennies. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the 1989 1-cent coin, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and share it with fellow treasure hunters. You never know who might be holding on to the next great discovery. Until next time, keep your eyes on your change, you just might be richer than you think. Last, what if I told you that very coin could be the key to unlocking a fortune beyond your wildest dreams? The world of numismatics, coin collecting, is filled with mysteries, secrets, and unbelievable stories of everyday coins hiding in plain sight with mind-boggling values. And among those is a peculiar 2015 USA 1-cent coin, a coin so common that most Americans overlook it without a second thought. Yet behind this unassuming facade lies a legend whispered among collectors, a tale of rarity, minting anomalies, and historical curiosity that has ballooned its face value to a jaw-dropping $21 million. It begins, as all great stories do, with a twist of fate and a series of seemingly minor decisions that spiraled into a narrative worthy of any blockbuster film. The year was 2015. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins for circulation, continuing the long-standing design featuring Abraham Lincoln. At face value, it seemed like business as usual. However, amidst this massive production run, rumors began to circulate that a limited batch of 2015 1-cent coins had been struck using an experimental alloy, something not disclosed to the public. No official records confirmed this, but whispers among Mint employees hinted that a small batch of pennies had been part of a covert test to evaluate a more cost-effective composition. Rising costs of copper and zinc had prompted the Treasury to consider alternatives. If these coins existed, they were never meant to leave the Mint. And yet, somehow, a few of them allegedly slipped through the cracks and entered public circulation. These phantom coins were indistinguishable at first glance. To the naked eye, they looked like every other penny minted that year. But to those who knew what to look for, subtle differences revealed themselves. A slightly different sheen under light, a minuscule weight deviation, an unusual ring when dropped on a hard surface, small clues that hinted at a much larger truth. One such coin is believed to have surfaced in early 2018 at a flea market in rural Pennsylvania. A local man, sifting through a jar of coins, noticed something odd. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but he pocketed the coin and brought it home. Months later, during a routine online search, he stumbled upon a numismatic forum discussing the potential existence of the 2015 experimental alloy pennies. The descriptions matched his coin perfectly. Intrigued, he reached out to an expert. What followed was an avalanche of attention. The coin was examined, weighed, and tested. Though the Mint never confirmed its legitimacy, private collectors were convinced. Offers poured in, with one anonymous bidder willing to pay $21 million to acquire what he called the ghost of the Mint. Since then, the legend has only grown. Enthusiasts and treasure hunters have taken to hoarding 2015 pennies, analyzing each one with the fervor of a modern-day Indiana Jones. Metal composition tests, microscopic inspections, and even chemical analyses have become the norm for anyone daring to seek out this elusive treasure. But what is it exactly that makes this coin so valuable? Is it just the alleged alloy experiment? Or is there more to the story? Some experts believe the value of the coin is tied not only to its physical rarity but to the story that surrounds it, a blend of mystery, government secrecy, and the allure of discovering something lost to time. This fusion of myth and material has created a cultural phenomenon. For collectors, the coin represents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For others, it's a symbol of how something so small can hold such immense power. Adding another layer to the mystery are reports of odd minting errors found on some 2015 pennies. A handful have shown ghostly double stamps, off-center images, and even slight misalignments in Lincoln's portrait. These anomalies are rare but real, verified by grading agencies. While they don't command quite the same attention as the experimental alloy coin, they add fuel to the fire. Could these errors be signs of the same experimental run? Could the mint have attempted to destroy the batch, only for a few to survive? Then there's the curious timing of certain mint facility shutdowns and audits that occurred in late 2015. Public records show brief periods of unexplained operational halts at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Coincidence? Or perhaps a scramble to contain a mistake that had already escaped into the world? What deepens the intrigue further are the collectors themselves. A handful of well-known names in the numismatic community have gone completely silent on the subject after initially expressing interest. One particularly vocal expert retracted all his statements about the 2015 coin shortly after a visit to Washington, D.C. Was he pressured to remain quiet? Did he learn something that made him back down? These are the questions that continue to stir debates in online forums and at collector conventions. The secondary market for 2015 pennies has exploded in recent years. Collectors are offering hundreds, sometimes thousands, of dollars for bulk lots of the coins, hoping to find the needle in the haystack. Some have even devised elaborate sorting systems, employing digital scales and AI-powered recognition software to detect subtle irregularities. It has become a modern-day gold rush, not in the rivers or hills, but in pockets, piggy banks, and couch cushions across the nation. Even artists and pop culture have begun to latch onto the myth. Limited edition art pieces have been created using 2015 pennies, with one gallery showcasing a sculpture entitled 21 million face value, made entirely of 2015 coins scavenged from circulation. Each piece of copper in the sculpture was chosen for its unique coloration or imperfection, further blurring the line between art and artifact. And let's not forget the legal gray areas that swirl around this story. If the coin truly is a mistake, an accident, or an unauthorized release, what rights do its owners really have? The mint, while remaining officially silent, has previously reclaimed certain error coins that were not meant to leave production facilities. Could they do the same here? Would a court uphold the collector's ownership of such a coin, or would it be confiscated as federal property? These legal unknowns only add to the mystique and high stakes surrounding the coin. While no official auction has ever confirmed the $21 million sale, multiple sources within the collector's community have vouched for the offer. Whether the deal was completed remains unclear, but one thing is certain: the coin exists, and it has changed the way people look at loose change forever. It's easy to imagine the skeptics shaking their heads. It's just a penny, they say. Why would anyone pay millions for that? But history has proven time and again that rarity, mystery, and the thrill of the hunt can drive value beyond comprehension. Think of the 1933 double eagle, or the 1943 copper penny. Coins that once seemed ordinary turned out to be priceless. So the next time you come across a 2015 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment. Look closely. Feel its weight. Listen to the ring it makes when it hits the table. You never know what secrets it might hold. Because within that little disc of copper lies the potential for a story that could change your life. And if you enjoyed diving into the wild world of rare coins and unbelievable values, make sure to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next legendary discovery hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting!